There is something off with Erica Kirk. What she is wearing seems a bit inappropriate to mourn your husband, who was literally taken out for the entire world to see. This woman is not grieving anything. She skipped straight to acceptance. This is most definitely PR, and they're using your grief for marketing. And the fact that Charlie Kirk's assassination is still being covered up, she is still walking around with the same security from September 10th, saying she's so excited for the new content that she'll be releasing. Isn't it strange how a widow stepped into the CEO role? She did 3 speeches already, one at a stadium. Charlie's family didn't even speak, and she's selling t-shirts, and is already hosting her husband's podcast, now doing an all-American halftime show with performers. She's not even home with her 2 young children who just lost their dad, not to mention how they're still trying to cover up her ties in Romania.
Something about Erica Kirk seems amiss. Her attire feels somewhat unsuitable for grieving a husband who was publicly eliminated in front of a global audience. This lady isn't mourning in the slightest. She bypassed sorrow entirely and moved directly to acceptance. This is without a doubt a public relations move, and they are exploiting this sorrow for promotional purposes. And the fact that Charlie Kirk's assassination is still being concealed, she is still moving about with the same security detail from September 10th, stating she's thrilled about the new material she'll be putting out. Isn't it odd how a widow assumed the CEO position? She has already delivered 3 addresses, 1 at an arena. Charlie's relatives haven't even made a statement. And she's merchandising t-shirts and has already taken over her husband's podcast, now producing an all-American intermission performance with artists. She's not even at home with her 2 small kids who just lost their father, not to mention how they're still attempting to obscure her connections in Romania. Charlie's relatives are out of the spotlight while she takes center stage. No one dresses that way to pay tribute to someone they cherish. And then the situation grew more fraught when Joe Rogan voiced his opinion. He plainly stated there was something very peculiar about the manner in which the federal authorities managed the inquiry into the Charlie Kirk case, and that numerous specifics were obscured or altered in ways that defy explanation. Joe's comments ignited the internet because this was no longer a fan speculation. It was coming from one of the most prominent figures in alternative media. The public started to wonder, is someone orchestrating this entire narrative? And when one reflects on Erica's transformation from a reserved widow to a new icon of influence, it all grows more dubious. Now the narrative truly intensifies. Joe Rogan doesn't merely question the authorities. He targets Erica Kirk directly, implying she's maintained an unusual separation from Charlie's family since his passing. According to Joe, there are indications that Erica hasn't been truthful with Charlie's parents about what's happening within Turning Point America, particularly about strategic choices made in the days following. Joe also brings up the point that the timing of Charlie's death coincides oddly with the acquisition of TikTok by tycoon Larry Ellison, who he says has extensive connections to political advocacy and media outlets. According to Joe, it's possible this relates to plans to advance his pro-Israel agenda, which Charlie reportedly intended to distance himself from before his death. The story immediately spread like wildfire online. One side argued that Joe was speaking for the populace, daring to challenge the taboo territory of the mainstream press. Others claim he's overreacting, connecting a political economic event to a personal loss. Meanwhile, the entire inquiry into Charlie Kirk continues to split public sentiment. Some trust the FBI is pursuing the correct course, has identified a suspect, and is simply awaiting an official declaration. But on the other hand, the online community believes there's a concealment happening, and that the government is disseminating false information to manipulate public perception. Doubt is increasing as a number of online investigators have commenced their own inquiries, sifting through videos, messages, photos, and even analyzing the conduct of the individuals involved. Every minor detail is being examined, from Erica's tenure as CEO to the contradictory statements within Turning Point. And now with Joe Rogan's involvement, the story has transcended a personal matter. It's become a nationwide discussion about trust, authority, and openness, where every comment, every post, and every picture can alter the trajectory of the facts. What's your take? Is Joe Rogan revealing something genuinely concealed, or is he just fueling a storm of doubt without clear proof? Share your opinions in the comments, because it appears there are still many facets to this story. And among the most outspoken was Candace Owens, not only Charlie's close associate, but also a board member of Turning Point America. Candace didn't mince words in criticizing the FBI, asserting they had distorted the entire narrative surrounding Charlie Kirk's case. According to Candace, the account the investigators presented about Tyler Robinson, who was allegedly reported by his parents after they saw his image on television and feared he was planning to hurt himself, was entirely made up. She wrote, "Tyler Robinson never had any intention of harming himself. That entire account is fabricated, like so many others we've been told. The story about the father reporting his son after a confession, that's also false. Candace insisted that Tyler has professed his innocence and that he never set foot on the Utah Valley University UVU campus, as was reported. According to her, there are no genuine photos or videos from the school that can verify this. And the blurry image the officials released doesn't even resemble Tyler, according to the family. She stressed the federal government is concealing the facts. They're only correct about one thing, that the evidence is his. Everything else is riddled with inconsistencies." Candace's declaration stunned the public, causing the online community to question the whole case. Viewers began to wonder, did the person the FBI claimed they had in custody actually exist? From there, a surge of independent inquiries on social media erupted. People scrutinized every aspect of the report, compared images, cross-referenced data, and uncovered many questionable points, from the method of information release to the visual proof. Some even suspect that the FBI may have constructed a template narrative to satisfy the public, while the actual culprit remains shielded somewhere. Despite the backlash, Candace has held her position. She continues to stress that the only thing she's concerned about is the truth, and that the authorities will be held responsible when the people realize that all the elements don't align. Now all attention is on Candace Owens, who appears to be challenging the system, but who may also be the only one courageous enough to say what no one wants to hear. Mainly because to this day there is no definitive proof that Tyler Robinson was actually directly implicated. But folks, the FBI isn't the only one under fire. From the beginning, Erica Kirk, Charlie's wife, has been at the heart of suspicion and dispute. It all began with whispers that Erica might have been a plant positioned in Charlie's life. It sounds preposterous, but as time passes, the small details become harder for the public to disregard. Then came Erica's address just days after Charlie's death. And to be frank, the delivery was peculiar. Rather than conveying the sense of a sincere homage, many said her delivery sounded more like she was delivering a directive than expressing sorrow. The line that captured the public's interest was, "If you thought my husband's mission was strong before, you have no idea. You don't know the fire you've just ignited in this wife." Just a few brief phrases, but enough to make social media erupt. Some considered it a powerful declaration, but others found it cold and calculated, as if she was announcing her intention to commandeer her husband's inheritance rather than commemorating him. And then gossip continued to circulate that some powerful benefactors of Turning Point America pressured the board to install Erica as the new CEO just weeks after the event. The swift transfer of authority, along with her self-assured presence on stage, further polarized public opinion. The peak came at the memorial service when a video captured Erica walking onto the stage with a confident, polished look, like a red carpet appearance. Supporters claim she's upholding her image during the crisis, while critics argue it's a moment where she's transformed anguish into advantage. Whatever the reality, one thing is certain. Erica Kirk has become the most contentious figure in the whole affair. And from there, the major question lingers. Is she truly the one carrying on Charlie's legacy? Or is she molding the narrative in a completely new direction? And then the moment Erica Kirk and former President Donald Trump embraced spread across social media. Thousands of comments flooded in within hours asking the same question. Wait, what's happening here? The video was shot at a major memorial event where Trump took the stage to pay tribute to Charlie, but instead of a formal handshake, he and Erica shared a heartfelt embrace. And that's when people began to get suspicious. According to one nonverbal communication expert, the moment didn't quite fit the pattern of a professional gesture. He said after they greeted each other with a formal kiss, she completely leaned into him. It wasn't just a hug. Her head was also resting on his shoulder, a potent gesture of connection. And what's fascinating is that Trump's response also shifted noticeably. Initially, he just patted her as a polite gesture, but when he realized she wasn't letting go, he began to embrace her more firmly. This analysis immediately caused a commotion on social media. Many said their conduct went beyond what was appropriate for a solemn memorial service, while others defended it as a moment of compassion between two people sharing their grief. However, the video went viral, especially because it occurred at a time when public opinion was sharply divided over Erica's role in the event. Her composed, confident appearance and apparent closeness to Trump made many feel that something was amiss. One viewer commented, "She doesn't look like someone who is in mourning. She looks like someone who is consolidating her power." The story seems to be just a hug. But it opens up a series of new theories about the relationship between influence, image, and sentiment in American politics. And that's when things became chaotic. Less than 2 weeks after Charlie's death, Erica appeared on his own podcast. And of course, the internet erupted. Viewers thought it was too soon, that she was attempting to capitalize on her sorrow for media attention. Some defended her, suggesting she might want to continue her husband's work, but the majority of the public felt something was wrong. Just as the turmoil was beginning to subside, Joe Rogan suddenly entered the discussion, and that ignited the debate once more. Joe went on record stating the federal government had managed the situation exceedingly poorly. He argued that leaking so much information to the public wasn't an error, but a diversion, a method to keep people focused on trivialities instead of getting to the heart of the matter. Joe argued, if the FBI genuinely wanted a transparent inquiry, they wouldn't have permitted information to circulate in this manner. Revealing every single piece of the puzzle is just deceiving the public, and that's likely the intention. But Joe then went further. He hinted that the investigating agencies might already know the identity of the individual behind the incident, even suggesting that foreign powers could be involved. And as if that wasn't enough, Joe also astoundingly suggested that Erica Kirk might be aware of more than she's revealing. That statement ignited the controversy again. Comments flooded in. Hashtags about Erica overwhelmed platforms, and people began dissecting her every word and action in interviews. Clearly, the Charlie Kirk case isn't closed. And this time, Joe Rogan has unintentionally propelled it into a completely new phase, one where hidden questions are beginning to emerge. According to Joe Rogan, the rumors of a honeypot or Erica being positioned to get close to Charlie may not be entirely baseless. He believes that the way the two first met is inherently questionable, especially since many sources have suggested that Erica's mother has links to some high-level security agencies. According to Joe, if you consider the whole scenario, there are too many details that align in an uncanny manner. And what astonished him most was how remarkably fast Erica seemed to recover from her grief. Within weeks of Charlie's death, she was back on stage, appearing on television programs and becoming the face of Turning Point America. Joe said she didn't just return to normal. She returned as if she was continuing a major campaign. It all looked too perfect, too arranged to be a coincidence. But Joe didn't stop there. He continued to question the mysterious absence of Charlie's parents. Why didn't they speak at the memorial? Why were there no interviews, no photos, no statements from them? And more significantly, why did the entire memorial event center around Erica, while those closest to Charlie seemed to be marginalized? Joe said that every time Charlie's name was mentioned, the media turned to Erica, and that he said indicated a clear strategy to redirect the public's focus from those who might know the truth. And then what truly stunned viewers was when Joe mentioned the moment President Trump awarded Charlie the Presidential Medal of Freedom. In the viral video, Erica stood center stage, well lit and clapping enthusiastically, while Charlie's parents, who should have been there, were not invited to join her on stage. Today, as we honor Charlie with this incredible Presidential Medal of Freedom on his birthday, I seen her with tears and just humbled heart and spirit because his story reminds us all that to live free is the greatest gift, but to die free is the greatest victory. I have spent 7.5 years trying to find the perfect birthday gift for Charlie, and it's so different those of you that have spouses or loved ones. These words moved many to tears, but also sparked a new wave of debate. Some praised Erica's speech as heartfelt and impactful, while others said it sounded too polished, too rehearsed to be a genuine homage. Joe plainly commented that everything surrounding the event felt like a meticulously produced political spectacle, from the lighting, the wording, to the camera angles. He said, "If this is a memorial for a great man, why aren't the people who raised him there with the honoree? Why is there only one person at the center of it all? And that person is Erica. For Joe, this isn't just a minor query. It's a critical component in a larger puzzle about power, media, and what the public isn't permitted to know. And when Joe Rogan said it in front of millions of listeners, the internet erupted once again. Viewers began analyzing every frame, every expression of Erica during the ceremony, while her supporters attempted to defend it as just her way of coping with grief. But regardless of which side they're on, everyone agrees on one thing. This story is far from finished, and each new detail only deepens the enigma. To be frank, I can understand Joe Rogan's perspective, because if you look at it impartially, Erica seems to have become the focus of the media, while Charlie's family has chosen to grieve quietly and privately. That contrast leaves many wondering, why is someone who is supposed to be mourning her husband so prominently featured on news channels, while his parents have completely vanished from the public eye? But Joe doesn't stop at criticizing the media. He goes deeper, raising accusations related to the internal operations at Turning Point America, the organization Charlie founded and dedicated most of his life to building. According to Joe, Erica not only controlled Charlie's public persona after his death, but also steered him down the very path he once opposed. Joe claims that Erica didn't tell Charlie's parents the full story. He accused her of concealing internal changes within the organization, from budget allocations, signing new sponsorship agreements, to reinstating some of the political agendas Charlie had wanted to remove, particularly those related to advancing pro-Israel stances. This, Joe said, was the central issue Charlie's parents wanted to prevent. They reportedly wanted to protect their son's original vision, maintaining the spirit of free expression and political independence he had stressed. Joe made it clear Charlie's family wanted Turning Point to honor what he had created, not to be controlled by donor groups, not to be an instrument of any faction. Erica, however, appears to have taken a different route. She is said to have restructured the board, altered its financial strategy, and broadened its international donor network. According to Joe, this not only provided Turning Point with a massive amount of resources, but also made the organization reliant on external forces. Something Charlie once warned was the most dangerous thing for a nascent political movement. And that's when Joe made his most audacious hypothesis that Erica was chosen as CEO, not just because she was Charlie's wife, but because the people behind it wanted her to ensure the organization continued to serve their objectives. He said, "Look who benefits when she takes over. They're not just buying a brand. They're buying the voice of a generation." According to Joe, the vote to appoint Erica as CEO was unusually swift, almost within days of the memorial. There was no discussion, no other candidate, and the result was approved by a near-unanimous vote. From Joe Rogan's viewpoint, that's not a coincidence. He believes that everything was arranged in advance, like a perfect sequence of dominoes. Charlie departed. Erica stepped up, the organization changed course, and the forces behind it continued to dominate. What captivated the audience was the way Joe spoke about all this calmly without any accusations, but rather inviting the audience to connect the dots themselves. He concluded with a quote that sent social media into a frenzy. "If you really want to understand what's happening, look at what's not being said, not what they're showing you." And within hours, Joe's podcast had gone viral, leaving people wondering, was Erica truly faithful to her husband's legacy, or was she part of a larger scheme, one that Charlie himself had warned about but failed to stop? And listen, Joe Rogan doesn't just stop at the usual suspects. He also connects Charlie's case to a series of large-scale financial transactions that have caught the public's eye. According to Joe, the timing of the incident aligns incredibly well with TikTok's sale to Israeli tycoon Larry Ellison, who Joe claims has deep connections to the Israeli lobby and financial establishment. Joe says that's too much of a coincidence to be accidental. He argues that when someone as influential as Charlie begins to shift his position, especially on sensitive issues in international politics, those with vested interests in him can feel threatened. And at that point, a series of deals, transfers, and shifts in positions of power in finance and media begin to occur, all in perfect timing. When Joe Rogan brought it up, social media exploded. Fans began to look back at Erica Kirk, who was not only Charlie's wife, but also his personal manager with complete control over his finances, schedule, and reputation. Erica is more than just Charlie's partner. She's the one who holds the keys to everything in his life, one user commented. Another wrote, when you're in her position, you know every number in his bank account, every meeting, every person he meets. And if someone deviates from the common agenda, the manager has the ability to shape the narrative in their own way. Then the comments began to take on a more cynical tone. Some said Erica seemed to be acting as if she had prepared for this scenario, while others used the term Black Widow to describe the way she calmly appeared in front of the media, as if controlling the entire image surrounding the incident. One user even mentioned rumors about activities in Romania, saying that there have been ambiguous stories about the humanitarian project she had managed there. And ironically, all of this talk coincides with what Candace Owens had said months earlier. Candace was the first to openly doubt Erica, saying she's not just a grieving wife, she's a strategic player. At the time, people called Candace paranoid. But now, after Joe Rogan, the global influencer, spoke out. What was once considered a conspiracy theory is starting to be seen as a possibility worth considering. Candace's followers quickly swamped the comments, writing, "She was right. They owe Candace an apology." Another said, "Candace was mocked for saying this. Now Joe Rogan is confirming it." The story has become a major debate about integrity, power, and loyalty. Many began to ask, if Erica really loved Charlie, why did she return to work after just a few weeks? Why is she seemingly the only one given complete control of his legacy? As the story deepened, suspicions about Turning Point America grew. Some people claimed that the organization's board of directors supported Erica's appointment as CEO just weeks after Charlie's passing, without an internal process or public vote. They said it all happened so fast, so smoothly. It was as if it was prearranged. And then when Joe Rogan asked, "Why haven't Charlie's parents come forward? Why haven't they ever spoken up?" the entire social media community went quiet. That question opened a new wave of discussion. Some believe Charlie's family was compelled to stay silent, while others believe they chose to remain silent because they didn't want to confront Erica and the powers behind her. Joe added, "The family's silence isn't accidental. It's a signal that something deeper is happening. Maybe they know something we don't." And as Joe ended the podcast, he said something that made the internet go wild. In a world where everything has a price, the truth is often the most costly thing to purchase. This story shows that the truth is rarely what's on the surface. In an era where information can be manipulated, edited, and disseminated in seconds, we need more than just trust. We need patience and the capacity to ask questions. It's also a reminder that power, love, and money are intertwined. When reputation is put on the table alongside profit, the line between faithfulness and manipulation becomes indistinct. Erica's swift ascent to power or the coincidences in financial timing are not just questions of ethics. They're signs of how the modern world operates. And finally, silence sometimes speaks louder than words. Charlie's family chose not to speak out, but that silence leaves the public asking more questions than ever. Silence can be painful, but sometimes it's also tactical. Joe Rogan was right. When power and emotion clash, the truth is the first thing to vanish. And perhaps the most frightening thing is not what we know, it's what we're concealing. If you too feel like there's something left unsaid, share your thoughts now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on the latest stories from the Royal Spotlight, where we explore the dark side of fame, power, and untold secrets. The Royal Spotlight, where the truth never sleeps.